In Ramsgate, a giant flying triangle. In Bristol, a hovering silver object. In Birmingham, 3 low-flying discs. An epidemic of UFO sightings covers the British map. By the end of August, nearly 200 sightings have been reported, and the numbers are increasing.
We've landed here in the United Kingdom because currently England is the world's hotspot for UFO sightings.
As UFO investigators, this is exactly where we want to be, where the phenomenon is the most active.
What we're getting is videographic and photographic evidence of orbs, of triangles, even one case related to meteorological phenomena.
Bill Burns will look into a breaking case involving a police helicopter that nearly collides with a UFO, and then gives chase to the object.
There were conflicts. The police denied it, the Ministry of Defense denied it, but witnesses said it really happened.
Pat Uskert will uncover never-before-seen video of an object that may have ties to an American mass sighting.
He's pretty impressed by what he saw that night, and he thinks he's looking at some kind of UFO event.
And Dr. Ted Ackworth will hunt down and analyze compelling pictures which seem to show a UFO approaching a tornado.
The object was very, very close, near this twister. Are those related? Is there some cause and effect? I'm not sure, but I'd like to find out.
This epidemic of UFOs has happened before, across the Atlantic. June 1952. Throughout the United States, an alarmingly high number of UFO sightings sweep from coast to coast. The following months come to be known as the Summer of the Saucers. The sightings seem to peak when 2 Pan Am pilots spot 6 glowing red discs while flying over Newport News, Virginia, on the night of July 14th. But just days later, on July 19th, the wave reaches a breaking point. In the skies over Washington, D.C., air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport track several objects flying over the White House. But the objects vanish before Air Force jets can scramble. Now, there is a new Summer of the Saucers.
This thing was just motionless. It just stayed there, and every now and then it would flash.
I didn't believe in extraterrestrial life until I saw this UFO.
Whatever is happening in the United Kingdom has left many residents rushing to record their encounters as proof that something is going on.
I'm about to meet with Steve Tuzer, who witnessed some strange lights at the height of this UFO wave. He's got some interesting video, and we're going to check it out.
May 10th, 2008, University of Wales student Steve Tuzer is walking back to his dorm after a late-night soccer game. But his night is about to get a lot more exciting.
Well, it was on May the 10th, about between 11 and 12 at midnight. And I happened to have my handheld camera. I looked straight into the sky and I saw these strange lights. And they started doing these strange formations, like triangular formations, and they were like bundled together, and it was just, I've never seen anything like it. So I quickly got my camera and filmed it all.
Steve's video shows the unexplained formation of lights moving from west to east through the night sky. As they move, however, a 4th light appears.
What you were looking at in your viewfinder, could you also see that with...
Far away, because I couldn't really zoom that close into them with my camera, so they were very far away.
What was their trajectory?
Most of them went across the sky.
Did they exhibit a sort of independent movement?
Yeah, it's like they were like together talking to each other or something. I don't know, just doing something. There's different formations, and then they would just disappear.
I have to say, the footage is very interesting. We are looking at lights in a formation that are hovering over the town. Now, because of the distance and the quality of the camera, I can't really know what these lights were, but that's why we're going to have it sent to the lab and have Ted analyze the footage and see what he can make of it.
Steve Toozer isn't the only person perplexed by strange objects in the British skies in the coming months. July 28th. In Bury, 160 miles west of London, retired professional photographer Roger Williams is relaxing in his backyard when he notices something flashing in the afternoon sky just above the roof of his house.
What I actually saw was some flashing in the sky, bright flashing. My first thought that was an aircraft tumbling.
But then Roger notices the object is not losing altitude. The saucer-shaped metal object appears to be spinning in place.
So you saw the object up here, and what happened next?
Well, I thought after I watched it for a short while, I decided to go upstairs to get my camera.
Roger snaps these pictures from his bedroom window. He photographs a silver-colored object against a clear blue sky. The object is blurry, but visual processing should be able to enhance the image to get a better look. Roger also captures a passing airplane, which provides an instant visual contrast that will be important in future analysis.
I realized that there were no wings or anything like that. It was a sort of a donut shape with reflections around the edge. So obviously it wasn't a plane or anything like that.
Roger has an unobstructed view while taking the photos.
Right, so you had a good perspective right outside, and you weren't even shooting through glass.
No glass, just straight through there. It's up in that direction.
Yeah, and it looks like you were stabilizing your hand on the side of the window.
That's right.
All right. Well, those are great shooting conditions.
After taking the pictures, Roger immediately loads them into his computer for a better look.
How many did you take altogether?
It's basically about 4 or 5 shots.
And you took those over the course of how much time?
Just a couple of minutes.
The similar focal planes of the object and the airplane flying nearby provide important visual information.
So this is a really interesting question to me, is because in this frame that has both the aircraft and our object, they appear to be in relatively similar quality of focus. So they are probably at similar distances, but I think it really depends on what the settings were for the lens. From that, we should be able to get a sense of the depth of focus.
By obtaining the lens settings and aperture from Roger, Ted can now conduct a complete photo analysis to see if he can identify this silvery tumbling object.
I have to say, this is probably the best photographic evidence I've seen yet.
But Steve Toozer's and Roger Williams' sightings are just paving the way for the most controversial event of the summer. On June 7, 2008, just outside of the Welsh town of Cardiff, a police helicopter, reportedly preparing to land at St. Athan Royal Air Force Base, is nearly struck by a UFO. To many researchers and news agencies, this is Britain's most compelling UFO case in years.
I'm meeting with British ufologist Andy Russell. Andy is a specialist in UFO sightings here in Wales.
Bill meets with Andy at the perimeter of St. Athan Royal Air Force Base, the focal point of the entire encounter.
The whole incident started here at RAF St. Athan early hours on the 8th of June, although some witnesses have seen a craft around the area on the 7th. When the helicopter was coming in to land, the crew noticed a small UFO approaching it at a high speed. The crew took evasive action. Originally, South Wales Police claimed that the helicopter chased the UFO. We've got witnesses in Cardiff and St. Mellons and a few other areas that have witnessed that chase. Later, South Wales Police have retracted that statement and said that the chase never took place.
Why would the police change their story? Bill has tracked down a lead that may prove the authorities are involved in a cover-up.
We found a commercial pilot who was in that airspace that night. He was approaching Cardiff Airport, and the tower radioed him and said, "Be advised, a police helicopter is tracking a UFO in your airspace."
One pilot's confession may help prove the authorities gave chase to a UFO. What were the police following? And were they trying to keep up with technology well beyond their own?
The object accelerated 10 times as fast as a military jet.
In the summer of 2008, the United Kingdom has become a center for frenetic UFO activity. Reports, pictures, and videos have been captured all over the country. But nowhere has a case intrigued more people than the Welsh city of Cardiff, where a police helicopter reportedly was in a near collision with a UFO and gave pursuit near St. Athan Royal Air Force Base in the early morning hours of June 7th.
At least one pilot reported he was told by air traffic control that a UFO had encountered a helicopter in his airspace. Stay away.
UFO hunters are in the UK to investigate the events taking place in the summer of 2008. They are working with local news agencies to locate credible eyewitnesses. With no video or pictures known to exist, the Cardiff helicopter incident is at the top of the investigation's most wanted list. Bill Burns is contacted by a pilot who says he was in the skies the night of the incident, and he was alerted by air traffic control to the situation.
Today I'm meeting with the commercial airline pilot who was warned out of Cardiff Airport airspace by the tower because they said they were tracking a UFO and a police helicopter.
But after several hours, the pilot doesn't show for his scheduled interview.
Originally, he agreed to talk with us and tell us the entire story. Then he abruptly canceled. He won't return our phone calls.
His initial emails show he is eager to participate. But after the missed interview, a final email shows he has changed his mind about discussing the case and won't say why. With the pilot now out of the picture, the investigation needs to locate more eyewitnesses. Pat meets with Andrew Dagnall, a reporter from Media Wales. Andrew has also experienced eyewitnesses going suddenly quiet. For him, it happened after speaking with sources inside the police department about the helicopter chase.
A policeman was driving a helicopter so that he saw what he said was a UFO and chased this UFO out across the east into the Bristol Channel, where it then disappeared.
So how did you come by this information?
The police actually reported this to us, and that's what made it so significant, was that it was actually coming first-hand from the authorities.
Andrew Dagnall's police sources confirmed that one of their helicopters chased a UFO. But later, authorities offered up a contrary statement. According to the South Wales Police Department, quote, there were a variety of aircrafts of different shapes and sizes. In all probability, this sighting has just confirmed that one of these was in the area at the relevant time. The helicopter did not follow it or chase it across the Bristol Channel.
Have you been able to get in touch with the police officers that were involved in this incident?
We've never actually been able to speak to him. That makes it difficult for us to pursue as a story because, you know, we're getting nothing back now from the police.
This seems to be very common with these sightings. Something big happens, and then they attempt to cover it up, basically. I think we're onto something, that something really did happen over Cardiff involving what appears to be a genuine UFO.
Bill is now seeking connections between the various events taking place this summer. To further understand what may be going on, he is meeting with Nick Pope, a former Ministry of Defense investigator who was assigned to UFO cases by the British government.
So we have a video that someone shot of an object over South Wales, and I'd like you to take a look at it and see if you think this resembles anything like the descriptions that you've received.
I mean, it's a fascinating piece of footage. It's interesting. Many of the Cosford witnesses talked about two lights, and it was only later that some of them, particularly those who saw it really close, noticed a third and fainter light. But yeah, that is similar to what's been reported at Cosford.
The Cosford incident took place on March 30th and 31st in 1993. It involved over 100 witnesses who saw 2 or 3 lights on what they believed was a triangular-shaped craft. The incident entangled 2 Royal Air Force bases, Cosford and Shawbury.
What's at these bases that would interest some kind of other craft?
Shawbury is somewhere where helicopter training is undertaken. Cosford is basically an engineering base. So it's a wide mixture of different establishments.
These aren't just UFO sightings, however. These are craft that actually go over the base, they hover over the base, they linger over the base.
More than that, in relation to the Cosford incident, one of the Air Force witnesses told me that the object accelerated away probably 10 times as fast as a military jet. It's not just lights in the sky. When it comes to sightings at military establishments, whatever this phenomenon is, does seem to be paying particular attention. We don't know what these things are, but they're in our airspace, and we want to know.
Though it may be impossible to know why these sightings are happening, witnesses continue to be amazed at what they are seeing. Local media assistance has helped uncover an eyewitness who saw the Cardiff helicopter event on the night of June 7th. Sometime after midnight, Amanda Berry is in her kitchen, preparing to turn in for the evening, but soon realizes her night is just beginning.
Well, I was basically, sort of washing dishes, doing normal, just usual things, work on my computer. I looked out of the window and I basically saw this light, sort of an orangey sort of light.
Amanda watches as a helicopter emerges behind the strange light. To her, it appears to be following or chasing the object.
What drew your attention to this thing? What was unusual about it?
Well, I mean, it was flying quite quickly, but it was sort of flying in a very smooth way, which you wouldn't, in a sort of broad arc.
According to Amanda, it is able to evade the helicopter with relative ease.
Did it appear that this thing was moving faster than the helicopter?
Yes, it did. I was getting the impression that the helicopter was kind of struggling to keep up with it, and it seemed to be flying along quite effortlessly, really. I mean, it was almost like as if it was teasing the helicopter,
Amanda's description matches what many local media outlets reported hearing from other witnesses. But skeptics dismiss this sighting, claiming it is something far more prosaic, a simple paper balloon known as a Chinese fire lantern. Chinese fire lanterns are often used in celebrations such as weddings, birthdays, and concerts across the United Kingdom. In fact, fire lanterns were launched the night of the sighting at a wedding in the town of Cowbridge, only 5 miles from the St. Athan base.
This Cardiff case, guys, is really perplexing. On the one hand, you've got the newspapers reporting this as a banner headline. The police admit that their helicopter encountered a UFO. Then the police pull back and say, oh no, nobody can talk to you.
Well, it sounds like they're trying to downplay the incident, but according to some of the actual eyewitnesses, they reported that they actually saw the helicopter chasing an object.
The police gave this explanation that this was fire lanterns. I think we can probably devise some kind of experiment to either prove or disprove that theory.
To put this theory to the test, Amanda has agreed to observe a series of fire lanterns and see if they appear anything like what she witnessed on the night of June 7th. With an eyewitness at the ready, the experiment is set for launch. Are police ignoring a case of simple misidentification? Or are they refusing to come forward because of a UFO incident at a Royal Air Force base? The investigation is in Cardiff, a Welsh city caught up in a wave of some of the United Kingdom's most compelling UFO cases in years. Video of what could be a huge craft. A strange picture of an object without wings tumbling in the afternoon sky. And a helicopter that reportedly pursued a UFO over the Bristol Channel on June 7, 2008. But official statements claim that this last incident is an overblown sighting of a Chinese fire lantern. These fire lanterns are candle-powered miniatures of hot air balloons, and they're frequently mistaken for UFOs.
We have Amanda's testimony that she actually saw this thing. She saw a very strange object flying in a very peculiar fashion that was being chased by this helicopter, moving faster than the helicopter. Now, after this huge incident, there were reports that this was all the result of just Chinese fire lanterns. So we're here now to put that to the test.
Amanda saw the object approximately 300 yards from her house. To accurately recreate her line of sight, Bill and Ted launch a fire lantern from a separate position 300 yards from Amanda and Pat.
I'm down here at base 1 with Bill. He and I will be releasing it from here. Down this way at about 300 yards is base 2. That's Pat and our witness. They're in position and ready to view our release of the lantern.
What we really want is your opinion about, does this thing look anything like the object that you saw on June 8th?
Okay, we're going to light off the lantern, eyes in the sky.
Go.
Okay, we have liftoff.
Copy that, we see it. Well, Amanda, you see it?
Yeah.
Does it look anything like what you saw?
It's a lot smaller than what I saw, and even at low altitude they're small. So, well, even the lights on the helicopter I saw were, they were dimmer than the lights on the other craft. You could see that they're, electric lights.
They were intense. These lights had intensity.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was more of a flickering candle or like a campfire.
Yeah. Basically, it just didn't look the same at all, really,
I think you've made it clear that this is completely different from what you saw that night. Yeah. Ted, I just wanted to let you know that we've pretty much concluded that what we've launched here this evening doesn't look anything like what Amanda saw that night.
Okay, Pat, roger that.
There is also meteorological evidence that casts doubt on the theory that these were fire lanterns launched from a wedding in the town of Cowbridge.
Cowbridge is about 13 miles to the west of Cardiff, and the winds that night, we looked at the meteorological data, are coming basically out of the north. Now, if a fire lantern was launched over Cowbridge and climbed up to 2,000 feet, it would be traveling in this direction, and that is the opposite direction from Cardiff. So we've got a balloon that's launched 13 miles away, traveling basically away from Cardiff. How could that ever have been sighted over Cardiff? It just doesn't add up.
So what does that mean? It's looking increasingly like we have to look for another explanation, and that explanation might very well be it's a UFO.
While one experiment has helped eliminate a conventional explanation, the photos and video from Roger Williams and Steve Tuser may provide even more evidence. Are these similar objects to what the helicopter pursued that night? Ted and image analyst Terrence Masson look for any distinguishing characteristics in the evidence.
Now, the Roger Williams photos, I'm really hopeful for. For once, we actually have a professional photographer taking a picture of an object. I'm hopeful that we can get something really definitive out of this.
Roger turns his 35mm camera skyward and captures 6 images of a strange disc-shaped object that he at first thinks is tumbling, but then realizes is hovering in place.
If we could do a sequential viewing of each of the object zoomed in and take out the motion, we could see how it looks over the course of those frames.
What we did was several things. Able to isolate some motion blur out of it and do some sharpening and contrast enhancement and actually overlay and sequentially analyze those 6 photographs, one on top of another. To me, this is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's definitely changing shape.
To me, it looks metallic. It looks very clearly reflective. Silver, like an aircraft body aluminum skin, but nothing at all like the shape of an aircraft. And what we see very definitively is it's roughly donut-shaped, saucer-shaped, if you will, and it's very clearly over the course of that short minute and these 6 photographs that it's either tumbling or physically changing shape.
It certainly doesn't look like any kind of wings or a helicopter. It's definitely doesn't fit any of our conventional aircraft profile.
The fact that this metallic, shiny object is hovering out there in space over the course of a minute and changing shape or rotating in place is very, very puzzling.
But Steve Toozer's footage shows something altogether different. The footage is remarkably similar to another incident that's already been closely analyzed.
It reminds me a bit of the Tinley Park video in that there's that formation.
On August 21st, 2004, hundreds in the small town of Tinley Park, Illinois, view 3 orange globes floating above their city. The video analysis seems to show that all 3 lights are connected.
It does look like the other 2 trailing points are locked to that 3rd point.
But most shocking is the size of the object.
I think 1,500 is a pretty good estimate, plus or minus a few hundred feet. And I don't know any structure that you could fly that could hold lights 1,500 feet apart.
Ted and Terrence believe the Tinley Park lights to be a massive single triangular object. Though it does show a 4th light, the object Steve Toozer captured is similar.
It makes me curious whether or not these lights are part of a larger structure.
All right, so we see here the stabilized footage. The light on the left is the one that I actually pinned. And again, similar to Tinley Park. To my eye, they're pretty stable.
To the naked eye, they do seem about the same position. It really does seem to be the structure locked together where we're doing some sort of rotation. So what Terrence's analysis is telling us is that these 4 point sources are clearly locked together in formation, but it's a very sophisticated formation where they're not just hovering together, but they're rotating en masse as one object. It really leaves me wondering what this could be.
One final photo could shed light on the dramatic increase of sightings in the United Kingdom, as a photographer in Lancashire captures what appears to be a UFO approaching a tornado.
Everybody has said, "What is that?"
The latest wave of UFO sightings over the United Kingdom has seen strange triangles, bizarre silvery objects, and a helicopter pursuit over the Bristol Channel. But the most unique case might involve a UFO and a tornado. Melanie Walwork of the Lancashire Evening Post received this photo days after it was taken.
Well, yeah, I thought it was certainly very interesting. It was crazy enough that there was the funnel cloud in Lancashire for a start, never mind now with this, this thing next to it that no one was, too sure what it was.
But more compelling for Mel is the amount of sightings in the area, especially this summer.
Do the sightings tend to come together in certain months of the year?
There certainly has been a lot over the last few months, obviously the summer months. Lancashire is a hot spot.
Though Mel received many calls and many reports, none had the evidence that Pat Regan did when he snapped his photograph. July 6th, 2008. Pat Regan is on a normal afternoon excursion with his daughter Jasmine in Lancashire. He takes this photo when he sees the tornado forming in the distance. When he arrives home, he downloads it to his computer for a better look. At first, it just seems to be a picture of the nearby tornado. But on closer examination, Pat discovers it contains something even more intriguing. Ted and Pat head out to meet Pat Regan and his daughter Jasmine at the exact spot of their sighting, the Rufford Canal.
It almost looks like we could have another tornado again today.
Yeah. Are these similar conditions now to the day you had the
It's
sighting?
a little bit cooler than when we saw the tornado. There was blue sky like this, but it was also quite thundery.
So Jasmine first spotted the twister around here.
Jasmine was playing there, and I heard her saying, "Daddy, Daddy, there's a twister, there's a twister."
Concerned at first, Pat realizes that the funnel cloud is far enough in the distance to take a photograph. He seizes the opportunity. But he realizes he captures something even stranger when he arrives home.
There was a speck in one of the pictures, and this is the speck that everybody has said, "What is that?"
Pat enhances the photograph. In what seems to be close proximity to the tornado, he sees a strange greenish disc-shaped object.
We don't know what it was. We said, well, could it be something from the twister? Could it be an aircraft? But all these seem to be impossible because it doesn't seem to be anything like that.
So you didn't see the UFO that day?
No, we didn't. Well, we saw it, but we didn't register it in our brains. It was there because it was on the picture. Yeah, we only noticed later on.
Do you know if the twister caused any damage?
Didn't get the feeling it was going to do any damage, but it only seemed to be peaking downwards some distance from actually Earth.
It wasn't touching down?
It didn't seem to be. But
When you were watching it, did you see any debris getting kicked up at the base?
No, we didn't.
If the tornado didn't touch down, it probably couldn't have picked up something large enough to be the object in the picture.
Seems strange to me is that we have a sighting of some unknown object associated with a strange meteorological phenomenon. And apparently the object was very, very close near this twister. Are those related? Is there some cause and effect? I'm not sure, but I'd like to find out.
But with so many unidentified objects being seen this summer, many are asking why the British government isn't seriously investigating this UFO wave. The British government has upheld the importance of UFO investigation for years and recently declassified the largest number of UFO investigations in this country's history. These files contain details of hundreds of sightings of strange lights and objects in the sky from 1978 to 1992. Nick Pope, who led the UFO project at the Ministry of Defense until 2006, examined many of these cases, some of which remain unsolved.
The amount of records that the MOD has on UFOs must be voluminous.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We've had over 11,000 UFO reports investigated since the early 50s. And of course, all these cases now are beginning to come out with the release of the MOD's UFO files, which has started this year.
The release of the files has coincided with one of the biggest waves of sightings in the country's entire history.
And so the MOD must be really frantic over what you called in the New York Times, Britain's Summer of the Saucers.
Yes, it is.
But despite what seems like transparency, little information on these newest sightings is being discussed.
People are using the Freedom of Information Act to go after the records, and they're not really finding them. Now, I have a theory about this. I mean, a couple of times in the MOD, somebody said to me words to the effect of, oh, well, I'm just going to write to this person about this. And I said, no, don't do that. You'll create a paper trail.
And if there is no paper trail, then officially released documents aren't telling the whole story.
So when people try to research cases like Cardiff today, you're actually partly responsible for the fact that there is no paper trail on Cardiff.
Well, I'm not sure if it's my personal fault. It was just the culture of on sensitive issues. We were aware of FOI and sometimes did what you might call a workaround, as it were.
Could the MOD's release of the classified files just be a smokescreen for their current UFO investigations?
You can guarantee that even if there is no paper trail, the MOD is well aware of these cases and investigating.
With solid meteorological data, field perspective, and a photograph, this may be the investigation's best chance of determining what's in the skies over Britain in the summer of 2008. An extraordinary photograph involving a tornado and a possible UFO has surfaced in Lancashire in the UK. Could this be the evidence needed to validate the numerous sightings sweeping the United Kingdom in the summer of 2008?
I'm at the University of Manchester at the Centre for Atmospheric Sciences. I'm about to meet with Dr. Grant Allen, who's an expert with tornadoes and twisters. I'm hoping that Dr. Allen can give me some information about the tornado that I can use when I get into the digital image processing.
This particular tornado we're looking at here is a very, very weak tornado with wind speeds, I would say, probably less than 80 miles an hour at the vortex edge.
Does it look to you like this is touched down?
I wouldn't say so. Normally when a tornado forms at the top of the cloud, you get a thicker area and that tapers off as it descends, and you can see that.
One question stands out. Is this object just a piece of debris picked up off the ground and tossed out by the tornado? Dr. Allen worked up an estimate on the strength of the tornado, detailing the force needed.
The maximum velocity around the edges of the funnel was about 80 miles per hour. That at as little as 10 meters away, it could be half that velocity. So we know that the velocity of the air around this funnel is dropping off very significantly. And obviously it would take very strong winds to keep some sort of debris or object up in the air.
If the tornado had touched down, and if that's a relatively large piece of debris that's left over, I would expect to see more evidence of debris either around the tornado or off this picture maybe.
We've looked very closely throughout the entire frame, and that's really the one and only piece of debris that we're seeing, and it seems to be about halfway up the funnel.
None of those photographs has the tornado been anywhere near the ground, so my hunch is that that is not debris.
With this stage of the analysis complete, Ted turns back to image processing to determine the size, speed, or distance from the camera to the object.
The question here is, what's the object? You know, an aircraft, a bird, an insect? Can we get our hands around this in any way?
My first impression is that it is something of medium size at a pretty good distance.
I am seeing what looks to me like motion blur on the object.
Motion blur happens when the object being photographed moves faster than the camera and film's ability to capture cleanly. It is usually affected by the camera's shutter speed.
Let's look up the shutter speed. 5 thousandths.
Right, so that's really fast.
Shutter speed on a camera dictates whether the photo is sharp or blurry. Pat Regan's camera shutter was set to open and close at 1/5000th of a second. This extremely fast speed clearly captures the estimated 80-mile-per-hour winds of the tornado, but not the alleged UFO.
It seems like it would have to move pretty fast in that very fast exposure time to still be blurred, because anything else that was moving at any kind of relative speed, even 80 miles per hour, a fast car, I would expect that to be crystal clear.
You're right.
At that shutter speed, right?
You're right.
Because that's really fast.
That's a good point.
Further analysis shows the object moving a third of its length in the 5,000ths of a second needed to take the photograph. But its exact size cannot be determined.
Do we know that it's a physical object?
I would say definitively yes. You can see the very dark undershadowing on the foreground objects, and if we zoom into this thing here, we can see it's kind of more light on top and dark underneath. So there is something physical in frame. It's not something that's added after the fact or very close to camera.
Right.
No debris in this area is to be expected.
Then we're live taking your calls from around the world in regards to the UFO phenomenon happening right now. If you want to share a story, have you been abducted? Do you have UFO video? Share it to the world right here at Third Phase. We're live, the world's top UFO channel on YouTube with over 163,000 subscribers and approaching 101 million views worldwide. The UFO phenomenon is great. It's true. It's happening right now. Just yesterday, we posted on Third Phase proof that there is an anomaly, something above China. 2 major jetliners escorting of what looks to be an aura, a plasmic orb. What is it? We don't know, but it's definitely suspicious. We shared this right here at Third Phase of Moon. This video is going viral. Why are these jetliners escorting this? It's leaving a chemtrail. We have Dr. J with us, and we wanted to get his insight of this video and this Google image that just showed up right here at Third Phase of Moon. What do you think,
That's
Dr.
right.
J? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, anytime. I thought that video was truly amazing. And one thing that gives it extra credibility is where it came from, the fact that it was a Google video. And if you recall yesterday when we spoke exclusively to John Lear, which people will be able to see soon on the world's largest civilian-run station, well, of course, Third Phase of the Moon being the world's largest YouTube channel on there, he was talking about these living craft that they build. And I'm wondering if this plasma that was being escorted by these fighter jets is what he was talking about.
Well, that's, if everybody watching right now, if they have an opinion of what this is, share your comments below right here in the flash chat. Get this, John. This is what somebody was saying. We had a few emails. It came through Twitter, Third Phase, and our Facebook page. And some people were thinking that this could be evidence of Malaysian Flight 370, and it might be in a trans-dimensional warp. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's what people are saying from their opinion, that might be Malaysian Airline, and it's a flux capacitor. It hasn't come out of its shell. Basically, it's caught in a dimension warp, and thus the fuzziness. It's still off.
I don't know if I buy that. Well, the only thing that would give credence to that story is if people recall a couple of years ago, a Vimana was found in Afghanistan, and all the world leaders were summoned there, and apparently there were some U.S. soldiers that were sucked into a time vault or a time warp because this thing was in a time vault, and they've never been seen from again. But on the other hand, I think that's less likely, and I think Malaysia, the MH370, I think the mystery's kind of already been solved in the sense that people have already said that it's been on Diego Garcia because of a Rothschild patent or prototype on board the ship. And by the way, if you recall, John Lear yesterday spoke that conclusively as a pilot who has all these world records and every aircraft license you can have, he said conclusively there is no way that Rolls-Royce and Boeing do not know where this is, because Rolls-Royce built the engine and Boeing built the plane. And so I don't think that's 370, Blake, at all.
Sure. You brought up the Bermuda Triangle theory, and that's why I just wanted to ask you that question. But also, people are saying in the chatter that Google Maps blurred the image out purposely, and they're trying to hide something. And that's the question. What are they hiding if that's the case?
That actually sounds extremely plausible, because if you recall years ago, a NASA insider, she was a low-level staffer, but she came forward and said every time a picture is released to the public from NASA, that picture is airbrushed out of all its anomalies. For instance, of the moon, the structures and the pyramids are removed before the pictures are given out to the public. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Google is actually airbrushing this out or making this blurry because it's something of substance. What it is the aurora or the TR3B, or better yet, or worse yet, depending on how you look at it, what if it's a giant craft? What if it's something that's interdimensional with other beings on board? So that's definitely, I think you made a very valid point that it could be a Google cover-up.
Absolutely, and also it could be a cover-up because you see a chemtrail coming off of it, and maybe it's a new thing that is dispersing this kind of poison over planet Earth, and they really don't want to show you what's going on.
Agreed. And speaking of chemtrails, they've been on the increase lately. The explanation that they give for them, that they're doing something to prevent or to fix our ozone layer because of the damage that we've done from it, does not make sense. It seems more and more like they're obviously trying to manipulate the weather or maybe make things worse for us because, like we said, the Georgia Guidestones, which are just a permanent thing that everybody knows where exists but doesn't know where they came from, specifically states that the New World Order wants us down to 500 million people so we could be easier to control. So for that aspect, that's why every time we see chemtrails, I think it's something we should worry about, not just think of it lightly.
Well, I think there's basically three things that we could look at in this video, this incredible image from Google Earth, is that either Google wanted to hide something that's dispersing the chemtrail. I've never heard of a UFO ever dispersing a chemtrail, but then this blurry kind of image, it could be an interdimensional craft, an ET craft, or basically something present-day technology that we're just not aware of. There's people that are lining up right here. I wanted everybody to stand by because we got a couple other things I want to talk to with Dr. J, but definitely if you have a question, you want to share your UFO story, the number to call in is 347-934-0378. Basically, I also wanted to get to Dr. J and his opinion of these anomalies that are coming out of this billion-pixel NASA image from Mars Curiosity. In two cases, people have already shared to us via Twitter and Facebook today that there's actually two flying objects over Mars. There was this one that we're sharing right now in third phase after you see this on YouTube, and then somebody pointed out another flying object in the horizon. What do you think these are, John?
You know, I want to answer both that question and go back to something briefly you said a minute ago about the fact that that other thing in the Google Earth that had that exhaust. Most UFOs don't. But we got to remember, if 57 different species, or as many as Kerry Cassidy says, over 240 species have visited us, we all can't expect them to be using the same technology. So very well could be a certain type of creature, a certain type of race. But on that note, Mars, wow, that is something that is continually bringing us evidence because the pictures are far more clear than they've ever been. I think, Blake, that this may be a disclosure event. This may be what they're slowly feeding people and getting them acclimated to life existing elsewhere, especially in our solar system. And I think we might see more of this. We might see more and more of images coming off of Mars that look anomalous.
Hey, Dr. J, thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase. I know you got to get to some things, but I appreciate your opinions on this. And be sure to check out Dr. J and Third Phase of the Moon on Revolution Radio every Thursday. Tell them what time, when it's going to happen, and who's our next guest, Dr. J.
That's right, everybody. A revolution-radio.com Studio A every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 to 7 Pacific Standard Time. And Dr. Greer is going to be speaking with us exclusively to Third Phase of the Moon. And so don't miss it. And you'll see it on Third Phase of the Moon.
Third Phase of the Moon, Revolution Radio. We have our... On Thursdays, basically, Dr. Greer is going to come on, and that's when we have the guest, the biggest ufologist around the world, Thursdays, and me and Dr. J get to ask these guys the big questions. And then tonight, Friday radio show, Third Phase of the Moon, that's when we get the people calling in, sharing their incredible stories. And right now we're going to go to a caller who claims he's got the world's biggest UFO story, and he's going to share it right now, exclusive. Let him join the show. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're calling from, area code 443, and tell us about this greatest UFO story.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Yeah, the greatest UFO story that I actually is about to share with you guys, I can also back up with photographs as well. And I say the greatest one because I've actually seen UFOs throughout the course of my whole entire life. I started seeing them when I was 8 years old. 2 witnesses with me at the time. Both of those witnesses are still alive to this day. One of them was too young to remember, but the other one does remember. Okay?
Can you tell us where the location is and what's your name, just so we could have a name for you, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to be called The Truth tonight on the air.
Okay, Truth. We got you, The Truth. Tell us, where did this encounter happen when you first started encountering UFOs? How old were you?
When I was 8 years old, which was the first time that I can remember seeing a UFO, it actually occurred in northwest Baltimore County. My aunt had just moved to a new house. She was in the city, and then she moved to a house out in the county, so a little bit better house. And what we would normally do is, like, do a cookout. And everybody would come over, you know, and get together and check the place out, you know, and see if we like it or not. And as I said, I was 8 years old at the time. My little cousin, he was 6. No, my little cousin, he was 2. And the girl that was with us, she was 6. So all 3 of us as kids were out in the backyard, you know, just observing the scenery, seeing what was going on. Our parents was getting things together, like the chairs, tables, and stuff like that for the cookout. And we stepped out in the alley, like right behind the house. And I guess we were out there for maybe about 10 minutes, you know, just looking around. And all of a sudden, I looked up. And I don't know why, I just happened to look up in this particular direction, and I seen a bright object had like came about. So this was in 1980, you know, just to give you guys, you know, some type of a perspective where you may be able to check it. This was in 1980. Okay, I was 8 years old. And when the object came up, even at 8 years old, I knew it wasn't something that was normal to me. At least I felt like it wasn't nothing that was normal. The young lady looked up as well, and then we both turned to look at each other and was like, you know, did you see that? She's like, yeah, I saw it. Did you see that? She's like, yeah, I saw it. Like I said, my other little cousin, he was only 2 at the time, so he wouldn't remember. But the next thing I remember after we both looked at each other and the object was still there was us coming from the front part of the house from the bottom of the block. It was the bottom of the block. Then you had a street, and then you have a bunch of woods. I mean, like woods everywhere back there. So we coming up from the front part now. Now, the last time I remember seeing the object, we was in the back alley. But now we're coming up from the front part. And the first thing I noticed, even at 8 years old, was the sky. It looked different for some reason. It looked different because it was later in the day. But I didn't really put all that together at that time. You know, I went in the house and went in my direction, she went in her direction, and I don't know where my little cousin went. But for some strange reason, I don't know why our parents wasn't looking for us. You know, but yeah, that was the first time that I ever saw a UFO. And me and this young lady had spoken about it within the past 10 years as well. We don't see each other as much as we used to, but we have spoken about it, so she does remember. Now, throughout the course of my whole entire life of living. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Truth, have you ever been abducted?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't remember being abducted, but I do believe that I have an alien implant in my body because
what part
they
of
always
your body?
seem. Well, I would not want to go into detail about that, but it's not in my ass. I can tell you that.
Well, if it's below your head,
yeah,
you know, we might be able to help you out if you have you can show proof in an X-ray. You have an implant.
I believe if it's one in my head, I don't know about if it's one in my head, but the one that's below my head, I've felt it. You know, it doesn't stay in the same place all the time. Sometimes it comes, you know, sometimes you can't find it. Sometimes it's easy to find. You know, but I wasn't really want to, you know, go into details about that part of it. You know, not
Can
just
you tell
yet.
us? Can you tell us, Truth? When was your last sighting?
Oh, my very last sighting, I actually got a photograph of that as well, so I have that on film. That was just like not too long ago, like last week.
How are you going to send us these photos? We want to share them on Third Phase. You're going to send it via Skype, Twitter, Facebook?
No. I don't have any computer equipment or anything like that. The only thing that I can do is send it from my cell phone to your cell phone through a picture text. And to be honest with you, I could send you a picture text and you could see what I'm trying to show you. But to really see what I'm trying to show you, to really see what's there, you really actually have to see it in person. I'm being honest with you. But I'm telling you, this is it. People need to wake up. This is going on right here, right now in Baltimore County. These beings are on the ground. They're on the ground. Their ships are on the ground. Okay? I can spot. Now, these photographs that I have are unbelievable. You would think that I knew somebody in Hollywood. You would think that I knew Steven Spielberg. You know, I know a couple dudes in California, but they ain't in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? But this is unreal. I mean, it's unreal. I've already had MUFON take a look at these. They deemed the photographs interesting. The guy that came to my house from MUFON, they tricked me because once he got into my house and let me know that he was with the Pentagon, it kind of threw me for a loop a little bit because I didn't think that MUFON and the Pentagon worked together. Not to put MUFON out there. MUFON is a good source of, you know, UFO information and stuff like that, but I had no idea that those guys was connected. So when the guy let me know that he was from the Pentagon after I had already told him my story, you know, it kind of shook me up a little bit because I want to remain in awe. I don't want to have no harm come to me and my family for trying to put the truth out there. You know, this is something that the world needs to know. It's not a game. The government needs to stop the cosmic psychology, okay? And because I'm telling y'all, we are disclosure. If you're sitting around waiting for it to come on the news or Barack Obama nah, we are disclosure. We got to get out there and get this information ourselves. And I guarantee you it's out there. They hiding in plain sight. And I can prove it. And I don't have no problem with proving it. I've already...
we're standing by right here at Third Phase Moon. We want you to continuously, keep your eyes on the skies, sharing your stories. If you could show your video evidence, your photos, we'd sure like to see them. The people on the flash chat are saying, hey, let's get some pictures, the truth, and we'd sure like to share them to the world because without people sharing their stories like you just did to Third Phase of Moon, people aren't going to wake up. Like you said, this is the real deal. People need to start thinking about the consequences that we're not alone in this universe. Let's go to another caller right now on Third Phase of Moon Live. We're going to go to area code 903. What's your name? Tell us where you're calling from, and do you have a UFO sighting you want to report?
Yes, my name is Joseph. I am from Texas.
Welcome to the show, Joseph. What's going on in Texas?
Well, about the age of 4 years old, when I was 4, I had an experience. Our whole house was enveloped with a pink light.
Pardon me? Go ahead, Texas.
Our whole house was enveloped with a pink light when I was at the age of 4 years old.
So there was a massive, at 4 years old, you're in Texas, and what happened over your house? A big bright light?
Yes, and it was like a bright violet, or it was a mix between both. It was pink and kind of like a violet color.
Gotcha. So there's a violet, you're saying a violet orb in color, a violet in color,
yes.
Bright orb over your house in Texas. Were you and your family viewing this at the same time, or were you by yourself?
Yes.
Tell us.
Yes, we were. We were all just sitting there. It was a normal afternoon. It was around 9 o'clock, and we were all just sitting there viewing TV. And we had the typical, classic power outage, and then all of a sudden our house just, got lit up with this light.
Wow. What did you and your family think about after this experience, and did you share this? You're pretty young at the time. I think it's quite common when young people are seeing these UFOs. They kind of make themselves aware. I know when I was a young boy, I witnessed my first UFO, I think, at the age of 8. So that's kind of pretty cool. Have you seen a UFO since?
Yeah, and my father had at the time went outside to see what this was, and he was out there for a pretty good while. I'd say around 10 to 15 minutes, but it seemed like time was just passing by slowly. It just seemed like time was just barely moving. And when he came back in, he was as white. He was really white in the face, like he had seen something that scared him. And he did not discuss it with us, and to this day he still won't tell us what exactly that he's seen.
Do you think you've been abducted?
Yes, I do, because that very same night, that this occurred, I had already been in bed, and I was asleep, and the pictures that I sent you over Gmail, the landing areas.
Well, have you ever shared your story before with anywhere on radio, like Coast to Coast or satellite radio? People are saying that they've heard you before sharing this story.
No, I haven't. This is my first time. I've always had the fear of being ridiculed and, called a fake, and this is just the first time I've told anybody besides my family and friends.
Hey, Josiah, I appreciate you coming on Third Phase and sharing your story because people are listening. Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, yes, I would like to finish the part I was getting to. I had waken up in the field outside our house, and I was disoriented. Being 4 years old, I was quite terrified because I didn't know where I was, and then I realized I was outside our house and didn't understand how I got there.
Wow, how many hours did you miss in time, would you say?
I would say about 2 hours, and upon walking back to my house, my brother was actually there on the porch, and he asked me what I was doing out there, and he said, I don't remember what I told him exactly, but he told me that I told him that they wanted me to go with them, and that's all I can remember. I don't remember seeing them or going with them. I just remember waking up outside my house.
Josiah, that's a bizarre indeed story, but it's very common. Even we've spoken with Travis Walton, famous abductee. He was missing for about a week, and then he mysteriously came back and found himself missing time. Didn't know what was going on, why this happened. Have you ever tried hypnotic regression?
No, I haven't, but I do have very odd dreams sometimes, and they're quite terrifying. There's just so much fear that, when you just see their face, you just get this fear that, just immediately envelops your whole body.
Dr. J, you've been listening, standing by. What do you think of Josiah's story? We have two abductees, or two people that have had UFO experiences, and starting pretty much at a young age. And this is just our first two callers right here at Third Phase right now.
Blake, I think this is several things. First, this is just proving that Third Phase of Moon is playing a very big part in disclosure. It shows exactly like we're doing right now, that is giving people the incentive to get the courage to come out. When one person speaks about their abduction, then all of a sudden someone who's been keeping it inside for years hears of that person's story, then decides that they want to come out with their story, and they're on and they're forth. And we keep getting the videos and the interviews and all these people calling in. I think that for the first fact is that we are making a big impact. The second thing I want to say is this just proves how many people have been abducted. The Roper poll conducted in the 90s said that 1 in 40 Americans was abducted. If you take that over the world, that's several hundred million. Now, that's a whole lot of people, or several million. I don't know the exact number. But the point being, I wouldn't be surprised. This may be a way of disclosure, too, is contact. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Dr. J. Let's Let's go to some other callers that are calling into third phase. Let's go to, I think, Madison, Wisconsin, dropped out earlier, area code 608. Are you with us at third phase? 608's out. Let's go to area code. Yeah, go ahead. You're on. Hello. You're live. Third phase moon. 608.
Yes. Did you happen to get my pictures that I sent you with those formations and then that weird orb thing?
Okay. Let me go back into my Skype, and we get a lot of pictures here at Third Phase Moon.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm the one that actually sent you that one that was yesterday. My question is, have you ever...
Let me ask you this. Is this the video of the security camera in the backyard?
No, I'm the one that sent you that picture, Daniel 461-420.
Okay, and describe to me the video.
Oh, it wasn't a video. It was actually a picture. And I was actually wanted to ask, have you guys noticed, like, if you look up and you see, like, orbs that would transform into aircraft?
Well, there are some. I've never seen orb transform into aircraft. I know orbs that they're shape-shifting aircraft that are reported that they're basically
right. I see those a lot.
I've never seen one myself. I think I recall some of your photos. They're interesting. I bet you if I were there with you at the same time, we'd be like pretty excited about what we're watching right now. It's hard to pick up good video or photographs at night without a perspective.
But I see it so often that I went to Best Buy and actually got me a camcorder because I'm planning, and it's actually coming on Monday, I'm planning on videotaping it. That's how often I see these things. I see them, first they start off as lights, they'll ascend in the air, and then boom, they'll transform into strange-looking airplane crafts, and I find that quite interesting.
Hey, thanks a lot. We appreciate you sharing your story and the photos. It's not every time you could capture an awesome, great video. There's a lot of people around the world. That's why Third Phase of Moon seems like, wow, how does Third Phase of Moon come up with all these great videos? Well, it's not Third Phase of Moon. It's the people like you around the world on a constant basis trying to submit and share this stuff to the world, and that's what we really appreciate. Hey, appreciate you sharing your stories. Maybe we'll share your photos on Third Phase. Is that all right?
Yeah. Oh,
all
no
right,
problem.
man. Appreciate
it. Was nice
it.
Talking to you.
Thank you very much. And, we're going to move on. It's going to be the chat line's filling up, so let's get right to it. Let's go to an area code 626. You're live, Third Phase of Moon. Welcome. Tell us your name, where you're calling from. 626, you're there? How about 619? You're live, Third Phase of Moon. Area code 619, you're live. Well, let's go back to the world's, the big story. He was explaining that he was abducted when he was a child. What do you think of some of the statements? I think Truth, you still there, Truth?
Yes, of course I'm still here. I actually sent you 2 photographs this evening. You should have gotten them from Dr. J.
Okay, yeah, we looked at them. Unfortunately, you're taking pictures off the computer screen, and that's not it's just not working as far as sharing these photographs because we're not really catching anything. What are we looking at in this graph? Tell us, Truth.
Well, the first photograph that I sent you, I believe what you currently see is a being that normally called a Nordic, which is the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, perfect-looking type being that's showing up in the image. The left side of the image is like a pig face type of being. And the second image that I sent you guys is the combination of both, the humanoid and the pig combined. And that's why I said that this technology is something that we don't currently have here on Earth, because we look at photographs one way normally as human beings, right? But we know that UFO and alien beings can fly in all different types of directions. So you have to look at the...
I'm sorry, I had to... we're ending the show right now. We're having some breaking news coming into Third Phase. We'll be editing it up tonight. Everybody stand by. It's going to be a short radio show, but that's what we've got to do right here at Third Phase. We got to share things coming into the world. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. If anybody's captured anything amazing, the best place to Share it is Third Phase of the Moon via Skype, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe. Friend us. Tomorrow night you will see what we're talking about on Third Phase of the Moon. Everybody, my name is Blake Cousins. It's going to be a big one. We'll see you again next time.
Unidentified flying object. 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 Flying object, flying object, flying object, flying object, flying object, flying object.